Hey everyone, it's Seanie B. Today's video is special. We're going to be talking about the black smoke the whole time. If you remember last episode, I asked you guys at the very end, during this break, which topic would you like to know more about, which confusing you a lot, and the black smoke seemed to be definitely the top choice that you guys want to know more about. Now, why even talk about the monster and why spend this much time on it? Well, it has been in the series ever since Season 1, the pilot. It has been, in my opinion, the most mysterious aspect of the show. And then also we will be seeing it for sure next episode, in Episode 9. So this way you'll get a better understanding of what it is, hopefully, and maybe know more than your friends about it. Now quickly before I get started going over its names, I'm going to be either calling it the monster, or the black smoke, or Smokey, or Cerberus, which I'll talk about later. And this goes up until Episode 9 of Season 4. So if you're watching this and it's Season 5 or 6 or even the show's over with, this is just what we know up until now. Okay, so here's what we're going to go over in the video. First, we're going to give a basic description, what it is, in case you watching this but you don't watch the show. And then we're going to go over every time it's ever been heard, mentioned, seen, every time in the show. Then after that, we're going to go over some miscellaneous stuff like sounds and what the producers say about it, and hidden references, that kind of stuff. And then finally end with theories. Okay, what the black smoke is. Well, it's a freely moving cloud of black smoke. Sometimes it attacks people and sometimes it spares them. It creates a different set of loud noises, and although it only appears as smoke, its force is able to uproot trees and able to physically hurt people. It sometimes produces flashes of bright light and seems to be able to project images from a person's past. It was first heard in the very first episode, but wasn't seen full-figured until Season 2. And the only person that seems to have any idea of what it is Rousseau. Okay, so now just every time we've ever heard, seen it, or had it mentioned in the show. The first time we ever find out there is a monster in Lost was the first night after the crash, when we hear loud, machine-like, kind of roaring sounds coming out of the jungle. To me, it sounded like a T-Rex at first. If you remember, when the Losties first heard this, Rose said it sounded familiar to her, like something from back home in the Bronx. Now keep this in mind because I'm going to bring it up later. The day after they heard the monster in the jungle, remember Jack, Charlie, and Kate went to try to find the receiver inside the cockpit of the plane, which was in the middle of the jungle. They find the pilot alive and they go up to him, but the monster yanks him out, and they find later that the pilot's all dead and bloody in a tree. After that, the monster chases Charlie, Kate, and Jack through the jungle, but it stops when the rain stops, which is important to note. Then we see Rose and Claire, and they hear it, and Claire says, "Oh, there it is again." A few days later, Locke's in the jungle and he's trying to hunt for boar when he sees the monster for the first time. And now we don't see it because it's actually from the smoke's point of view. Locke doesn't try to run or hide. He stands there facing it in amazement. Later, when he finds Michael, he tells him that he didn't see anything in the jungle, but tells Jack that, "I've looked into the eye of the island, and what I saw was beautiful." Way later in Season 3, this is what Locke tells Echo too, that what he saw was a beautiful bright light. But Echo actually says that's not what he saw, which is important to note, and I'll talk about it later. A little bit of time passes, and remember Jack's led to the caves by supposedly his dad. And then remember Dr. Arzt. He was the guy who later blows himself up with dynamite trying to open the hatch. He tries to dissuade Michael, Jin and Sun, and Hurley from moving to the caves because he saw Jack supposedly chasing his father. But they hear the monster roaring in the jungle, and that changes his mind about moving. A few weeks later, after Locke first sees Smokey, The monster appears to Boone in a hallucination he has because of the drug paste Locke puts on his head. And in the dream, the monster is chasing Boone and Shannon, but they hide under a banyan tree and become safe for a short while. And I'll bring up the banyan trees in a little bit. But it returns and chases them again. Shannon starts lagging behind and Smokey catches up to her, as Boone can only watch in horror. He later finds her dead, very much like the pilot, except not as bad. Another interesting thing is you can hear birds flapping right before it appears. And even though it was only a dream, the monster seemed to behave exactly as it would outside the dream, even though Boone had never seen or encountered it before. About 3 weeks later, Rousseau, Jack, Kate, Locke, Hurley, and Arstar are on their way to the Black Rock when they get chased by the monster. When they hide behind some big trees, Danielle tells them that they're now safe. Jack asks Rousseau what the monster is, and she says it's a security system. Jack asks her what it does, and she says its purpose is that of any security system, to protect something. When Kate asks her what it's protecting, she says the island. And this is the first time we get any idea of what the monster actually is. Danielle seems to be the only one that knows anything about it, and I'll be talking about Ben and Juliet later, how they seem to not know anything about it. They seem to, at least. Rousseau also mentions that they're traveling through an area called the Dark Territory, and it was also mentioned in French on the radio transmission that she left. According to her, that's where her team encountered the others for the first time, and where they were infected. And also, she mentioned, I think his name was Montand, one of her friends lost his arm there somehow. Later, after they get the dynamite they intend to blow up the hatch with, Jack and Kate see a small wisp of black smoke moving quickly through the trees close by. Now, this is the first time we actually see the monster and see the black smoke clearly from the Lostie's point of view. After that, it makes its usual attack mode noises and starts tearing down trees, trying to get to them. Locke is confident that the black smoke won't harm him like last time they came face to face, so he approaches it instead of running, but this time the black smoke does attack him and knocks him to the ground. Locke gets up and starts to frantically run away, but the black smoke grabs him and drags him by the foot. Jack grabs Locke's arm just as he's about to be pulled down a hole. Now remember these holes or these vents, because I'm going to bring them up later. And Locke tells Jack to let him go, that everything will be alright. But Jack made Kate get the dynamite and throw it down the hole. The dynamite exploded and the monster released Locke, and then it rushed away from the group. In the episode, the 23rd Psalm, remember Echo and Charlie encountered the monster also. First, Echo sees a small wisp of black smoke, and then he hears the usual loud horn sounds it makes, and Smokey appears right before him. Charlie yells for Echo to run, but he stands his ground. The monster hovers and stares right into Echo's face, and the sounds it made kind of reminded me of the alien from Signs. As the camera pans behind the black smoke, we see flashes of light, like pictures are being taken, and we also hear the crickety, like, sound, and very quick flashes of images of characters or events in Echo's life appear inside the black smoke. Here's all the pictures seen. As you can see, they're all images from Echo's past, like the church, the man he shot as a kid, the altar boy, the little Mary statues with the drugs inside. Just all things from Echo's past that either gave him trouble or that he doesn't want to remember. So this gives us some idea that the monster is either some incredibly highly advanced creation or that it's something supernatural. After Echo and Smokey's staring contest, it shrinks in size dramatically and disappears. In the Cost of Living episode, the black smoke manifests itself as Siamey once again. Throughout this episode, Siamey appears before him and tells him that it's time for him to be judged. As Echo makes his way towards the drug smuggler's plane, we can see wisps of black smoke circling Echo like a shark. It follows him quietly, almost as if it's stalking him. Then the monster manifests itself as different people from Echo's past, like the guys that tried to kill Echo back at the church, and then also the altar boy.